It's now hundreds of miles away where they believe they have the person they're now calling a suspect in for questioning. He matches the description. So somebody at McDonald's, John and Sandra in Altoona, picked up the phone, called it in and said, hey, I think we see this person you're looking for in that ongoing manhunt for the murder suspect of that CEO.
Responding officers questioned the suspect, who was acting suspiciously and was carrying multiple fraudulent IDs as well as a U.S. passport. Upon further investigation, officers recovered a firearm on his person as well as a suppressor, both consistent with the weapon used in the murder.
The CEO slayer identified. According to CBS News and a bunch of other agencies, the NYPD has rounded up a suspect or a person of interest, and this is allegedly the person who shot the United Healthcare CEO in New York City. And so a bunch of clips here from what they have brought forward to us and reaction from his own X account, because people have found his X account. This is the person as of now, and people are going through his X account and trying to figure out what's going on. Now, you'll notice that he has pinned on his profile a post from Tim Urban. Tim Urban runs the blog called Wait But Why, and I don't know if the future is going to be utopia or dystopia is what Tim Urban said, but it's unlikely to be anything in between. And then he's reposting that. And so this has been interesting because Tim Urban is like, I disavow. That's not what the book was about at all. And he came out and posted in response to that. But here's the X account. The alleged CEO shooter was reboosting Andrew Huberman's podcast, which is a great podcast. And just because he likes the podcast doesn't mean that Andrew Huberman is an assassin or an assassin lover or something like that. Maybe he's just interested in mental health and brain plasticity. He's listening because he's got a mental health situation going on. Uh-oh, maybe that's one thing. Also reposted this from Peter Thiel on many great startups being run by people suffering from a mild form of Asperger's. So maybe this guy's thinking, oh, I identify with Peter Thiel. Reposting from Jonathan Haidt on the anxious generation. Same thing here. It's amazing how caffeine really is the only drug that has achieved this level of social acceptance. Imagine someone saying, the first line of cocaine in the morning is just one of my favorite things in life. First coffee in the morning is one of my favorite things about life. It's like my first hit of meth, you know? So he's into this space. Now, all of that has been parsed through with a fine-tooth comb, courtesy of the interwebs, and somebody who is doing some sleuthing found something else interesting on this. Seems like the shooter had some sort of a mental breakdown about 6 months ago and then totally vanished. This came over Armand Domaluski, found this one, and this is from his X account. Somebody was sending this back July 9th, 2024. Someone sends him this message. Hey, Pet Mangione. Hey, man, I need you to call me. I don't know if you are okay or just in super isolated place and have no service, but I haven't heard from you in months. You made commitments to me for my wedding, and if you can't honor them, I need to know so I can plan accordingly. Like, bro, where are you? Someone else said, thinking of you in prayers every day in your name, know that you are missed and loved. Okay, someone sent that 11/26. So the guy's just like off the radar, gone. Then, hey, are you okay? In October, 11/26, so that's just not long ago, says, hey, are you okay? Nobody has heard from you in months. And apparently your family is looking for you. Nobody can find you. Pep, somebody flags him 11/27. Are you there? Where'd he go? Not good. So I don't know what happened there, if the psychedelics took a hold of him and his ayahuasca journey caused a problem for him, or if maybe the CIA MK Ultra drugs took effect and captured him. So we don't really know. But something happened, theoretically, according to this capture from Armand. And there's more reaction. So here is what the mainstream media was reporting on this, saying that he had a manifesto. They found him at McDonald's. He had the gun in his pocket. Here is what the report said.
This afternoon, although this manhunt started in New York City, it's now hundreds of miles away where they believe they have the person they're now calling a suspect in for questioning. Why do they think it's a suspect? Well, they say it's quite simple. He matches the description. So somebody at McDonald's, John and Sandra in Altoona, picked up the phone, called it in and said, hey, I think we see this person you're looking for in that ongoing manhunt for the murder suspect of that CEO in Midtown Manhattan. So the cops say, we'll come over, we'll check it out. They thought he matched the description. They go and question him. What does he have in his pocket? Well, I'm told by sources he had a weapon in his pocket, and they believe it's the same gun that was used in this investigation into who exactly they were looking for, into the killing of this CEO. So they've got the gun possibly in Altoona, Pennsylvania. They were doing everything they could to find more evidence in Central Park because they found what they believe was the shooter's backpack. So he tried to hide it in the woods, I'm told. So he leaves in Midtown on an electric bike, comes to Central Park where I am now, stashes that bag, and what's inside? Well, a men's jacket and some Monopoly money. The question still, although they might have a person of interest or now a suspect in for questioning, is what was this all about? What was the motive? That is the question here in this case. I'm told it could be linked to Brian Thompson's job. He had a huge job as the CEO of United Healthcare. They believe believe it could have been either a disgruntled employee or somebody who was just upset about the entire insurance industry and insurance system, blaming him. But those words that were written on the shell casings, you guys, deny, defend, and depose, could also be, I'm told by sources, something to just kind of throw police off of his trail. But they did a really good job here. You got to give the NYPD credit. They worked with federal, state, and local partners all over the place to try and find this person. They kept putting out his picture. Let's pull it up one more time on your screen. We kept showing it. The one, he's smiling, okay? That's at a New York City hostel. Then they have a picture of him leaving Central Park in a taxi cab, looks directly at a camera that's inside of that taxi. The driver hands it over as evidence in this case. So those two pictures that we kept showing, well, I'm told that is why this person, the McDonald's, who is possibly a McDonald's employee, recognized him. And in those pictures, even though the one at the hostel is more clear than this one, I mean, you can see his eyes and you can see his eyebrows, you can see some of his features. So that's what I guess they recognized. They said, hey, I think that looks like the man in that picture. So
shout out to the McDonald's
sometimes
worker.
It just takes one last tip, and that's exactly what happened in this case. They've got this guy in custody and for questioning at a local police department in Altoona, Pennsylvania. We've got our crew going out there now to get the latest on what's going on the ground, but a wild story. So we're going to have to see exactly what happens. Send it back to you.
So if they have somebody in custody in Altoona and they believe that they've got a weapon in their possession, what exactly are divers looking for in the pond there?
Well, so it's interesting, John. They were still searching just to see, what else he could have thrown in there. But I don't think they knew because it happened so quickly. This morning when we were live on America's Newsroom, they had those two divers in there scouring. Well, they got called out. We didn't know if it was for a break or for some type of break in the case. We're still going to wait to find out. But they pulled the divers out now. So we're going to have to see if they're going to still continue that search. But we'll have to see what happens. But
yeah, maybe look for the actual weapon. Who knows? All right. So this is the person, a photograph of him. Carol Markowitz also said his name is Luigi Mangione, 26 years old. He's from Maryland. Bunch of news agencies aggregating the details. You see, his name is Luigi Mangione. 26, was arrested in Pennsylvania on Monday. Person of interest. Why it matters is he's obviously the person allegedly who shot that CEO. Mangione was identified at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. He had fake IDs, a firearm, and a device to muffle gunshots. All perfect. That was according to New York City Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch, which must be a common name in New York. He was recognized by an employee at the fast food restaurant who called local police, she said. Responding law enforcement officers questioned Mangione, and he was acting suspiciously. The fraudulent New Jersey ID he carried was consistent with the one used to check into a New York City hostel before the shooting, said Tisch. Not that Tisch. The Altoona Police Department confirmed in a press release that he was arrested on charges unrelated to the shooting, possession of a firearm in violation of their laws. So he's expected to face gun charges in New York and Pennsylvania. Officers also recovered a handwritten document that they said, quote, speaks to both his motivations and his mindset. That document was 3 pages long. Kenny told reporters that in his agency's correspondence with the police, he does not believe there are any specific threats, although he does have ill will towards corporate America. He was raised in Maryland. Last known address was Honolulu. Not believed to have any prior arrests. Believe he attended college in Pennsylvania. Some people say the Ivy Leagues. Thompson was shot in the back on December 4th. Shooting had the bullets inscribed with deny, defend, depose, and his killing is reopening a national debate. Apparently some people think it's okay to just shoot and kill people in the middle of the street. Now, they had this guy detained. Fox News reporting largely the same. Not much new from the various agencies, but Luigi Mangione was arrested, age 26. At this time, she said, he is believed to be our person of interest. All right, so let's just go to some of these clips. You see, here is what they said today out to the media.
Document that he was found in possession with. Can you go a little bit more in depth about those motivations that you mentioned? Was that CEO specifically named in that document? Was there anything more about him wanting to go after others? And also in that document, was there any indication that explains as how the level of detail that he went into killing him? Like, is there anything?
Like I said, that document is currently in the possession of the Altoona Police Department as part of their investigation. But just from briefly speaking with them, we don't think that there's any specific threats to other people mentioned in that document, but it does seem that he has some ill will toward corporate America.
So this was a political act. Here's another clip.
By an employee who then called local police. Responding officers questioned the suspect, who was acting suspiciously and was carrying multiple fraudulent IDs as well as a U.S. passport. Upon further investigation, officers recovered a firearm on his person as well as a suppressor, both consistent with the weapon used in the murder. They also recovered clothing, including a mask consistent with those worn by our wanted individual. Also recovered was a fraudulent New Jersey ID, matching the ID our suspect used to check into his New York City hostel before the shooting incident. Additionally, officers recovered a handwritten document that speaks to both his motivation and mindset. The
All right, so we'll look forward to seeing if this guy's talking or not, if he's speaking out. Has he invoked? Are they going to charge him with additional crimes, or is this what we've got? You can see Colin Rugg did some aggregation for us. He said he's a former Ivy League student and activist. People described him as a tech whiz, former valedictorian of his class, anti-capitalist who shared quotes online from Unabomber Ted Kaczynski. He had some quotes that we'll take a look at and wrote about. Mangione studied at the University of Pennsylvania. He was valedictorian in 2016, graduating class at Gilman School in Baltimore, and they found his X profile, and they got some photographs of him there. He engaged with a lot of accounts on X, including some right-wing figures. He despised the legacy media. He didn't send out any posts regarding the election, and he frequently engaged with @WaitButWhy, which is Tim Urban. And there was also other reports from Libs of TikTok that Libs of TikTok said that Taylor Lorenz, remember her, the woman from the Washington Post, was actually following him. And that's curious because she was, I think, in favor or sympathetic with the shooter's actions. So it's interesting that she's following him, and we'll learn more on that. But here was one of the posts that he wrote. So he actually wrote a comment on Ted Kaczynski's writings, and he says he rated a book 4 stars. Ted Kaczynski's Industrial Society and Its Future, he gave it a 4-star rating. Said, when all other forms of communication fail, violence is necessary to survive. You may not like his methods, but to see things from his perspective, it's not terrorism, it's war and revolution. Fossil fuel companies actively suppress anything that stands in their way. They have zero qualms about burning the planet, so why should we have any qualms about burning them down to survive, right? Pretty violent language that, of course, we reject. We want peace and love and harmony. We're animals just like everything else on this planet, except we've forgotten the law of the jungle and bend over for our overlords. Violence never solved anything is a statement uttered by cowards and predators. All right, so that's his perspective, and maybe that is the motive that led him to shoot a CEO in the back. But that is a curious post. Of course, we'll keep our eye on it. As it stands, he's not been charged with anything related to this offense, probably just a weapons possession charge. We'll see what the indictment or the criminal complaint says against him, and we'll be here continuing to cover it. But he's been picked up. Will they put a nice bow on this? We'll see. Thanks for subscribing and joining as we wait for the story to develop.